You have now been granted access to the Global Entry Podcast. Enjoy your experience.
Scott, what's going on, brother?
Yes.
Welcome to the Global Entry Podcast, man. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me, man.
Awesome. The great poet Sean Corey Carter said you could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me. Go ahead, and it's customary to do a global salute.
Man. Let me give it a
spin that. Yeah. Now, do you travel outside the country?
Yeah, I have. Jamaica mostly.
Okay.
I've been there several times.
Sure.
Got roots in Jamaica.
Oh, you got roots in Jamaica. Okay. So what's the roots in Jamaica?
So my dad is Jamaican. I got a lot of family in Jamaica, man. Currently living there. Some that have moved from Jamaica, moved to the U.S., but constantly go back. So anytime I visit Jamaica, I'm not only a tourist, but
it's home.
I get that family love,
Cool, man. What are some other places? I know a lot of artists like to go to Paris and things like that.
Right.
But what are some other places that you'd like to visit, whether it's for art inspiration or just on your list of places to go?
Man, I honestly I would love to go to Paris because I want to visit the Louvre. London. I would like to go to Africa, the Bahamas. I've always been wanting to go to the Bahamas and the Maldives?
Oh, the Maldives.
Yeah, I've been seeing that, and I'm like, I want to check that out one day.
We were talking about that the other day, you and I. We definitely need to make it out there before the ocean levels rise up, because that's actually threatening it right now. So that's on my list as well, brother. That's pretty cool, man. I think travel is pretty dope. Another place I think you should absolutely put on your list, just from how your art is influencing things like that, is Brazil. Yeah, Rio, but in particular Sao Paulo has some amazing Afrocentric art and all those different type of things.
Gotcha.
So that'd be dope. But you're gonna love the Louvre in Paris. For those of our listeners and our audience that don't know who you are, who is P. Scott?
Man. I'm the many-faced man.
Yeah.
I wear many hats. So an artist. I'm a gallerist. I'm a designer, as well as a barber. Those are like the key things I do. Amongst many. I try to be well versed and wear many hats.
Okay. Now, how did you start out your journey as an artist?
I think I've always been an artist. Since I was a small kid, I was always drawing. I was always painting. But I developed my love for art with graffiti. I started tagging at an early age, and then it grew into doing graffiti on a bigger scale, like murals, what you would call murals. We call like burners and throw-ups and stuff like that. And eventually it grew into just a real love for art.
Okay. Cool, man. So, earlier we were also talking about kind of the versus battle thing that's going on, and shout out to Timbaland and Swiss Beats for monetizing that, and that's big for the culture. From an artist perspective, like if there was a battle situation between two of your favorite artists, like who would you put up against who? Would it be like a Hebrew and a Basquiat? Like who would you put up to battle?
That's a great question. Now, is it current artists, or is it past? Or is it past and current?
So kind of along the same rules as the versus thing, we wouldn't put Nicki Minaj against like Lil Kim, because that's a different era. So it's really up to you. Like you can do past historic people, and then you can do a kind of a current one. I mean, to be honest with you, no BS. I'll put you up against anybody, but you probably humble. You won't pick yourself, but so you can go with the old heads. Historic people.
That's a really good question. I think I I gotta put my man Basquiat in there because I just think he'd be great at battling on the art side, right? But who would I put him up against that could even give him any type of? I would have to say Warhol. You know, his
I agree.
His mentor, or kind of mentor, right? Like, I just think that they have worked together in the past, and I think that they probably would have a good battle if they would battle off, you know? So, I would go with them, too. Yeah,
I think it was Drake that said when your idols become your rivals, so that'd be a great situation there. So I like that one. Now, current artists, who would you?
Current, I would put Hebrew in there up against Hush. Yeah, that would be a pretty dope battle.
That's solid. You know, that's an interesting kind of exercise there. So you're originally from Rochester, New York, right?
Right, yeah.
So how the heck did you end up in Chicago?
Right, so long story, but I had a business partner in Rochester. This is a guy who owned multiple stores, a lot of different retail stores. And I myself at the time had a barbershop, 2 barbershops and a boutique. Okay. And he just liked the way, I kind of designed my shops and the way I made them look. And at the time, he had a business opportunity here in Chicago to expand. And he was like, hey, look, can you help me out and get these stores to look good? Because I need to land a Nike account. Right. And Nike doesn't play with at all how your store looks. So, he was like, I need to bring some people in that can make it look artsy, creative, give it that fly look. So, and part of the deal was I do that, and in exchange, he'll help launch this clothing line that him and another guy, we all wanted to do this thing together. So he was like, I'll help you guys out. So that's kind of how I came here. It was all due to fashion,
Oh, cool,
man. I
man.
came on some fashion. I wasn't even thinking about art. It was just all about fashion at the time.
So what year was that?
That was in 2005, 2006, around that time.
Okay. Yeah. So 2005, 2006, you're not even thinking about being P. Scott, the artist, at this point.
That's not at all. In fact, I came here, my nickname was Free, and everybody called me Free. So anybody who knows me from that era, when I first came to Chicago, they all call me Free.
Wow.
You say P. Scott, they be like, Free?
Yeah, you mean Free?
They know me from
That's pretty cool.
When I first got here.
So Chicago is a lot different from New York, but even more importantly, different from Rochester. How did you get in tune with the city? Like, you were an implant, lot of stuff going on 2005, 2006 in the city. Like, how did you get in tune? How did you navigate the hood politics, as I call it, in Chicago?
So, me being a barbershop owner, I kind of know that the nucleus of any community, especially the urban community, is the barbershop. And so we were developing a spot on King Drive,
47th Street.
47th and King Drive. And I kept driving by this barbershop, and I was like, man, that barbershop remind me of my barbershop a lot. Like, I like the style, I like the barbers that were in there. I had got my hair cut a couple times there, and I would just love the energy. So I was like, you know what, even though I really don't need the job, I just want to get in tune with the city of Chicago. So I grabbed my little book bag, my little laptop bag one day. I was in my Timbs. I had the white beat on, totally looking like New York. I had the hat to the back, cocked to the back, not even how I was supposed to in that hood. But I'm not from there, so I just kind of walked in and was like, hey, who owns this spot? I would like to talk to the owner. She came out. It was co-owned at the time. She came out. I just popped open my laptop and kind of showed her a slideshow of all my work. And they were all blown away. Like, all the barbers kind of stopped cutting, came over, and they was like, man, you did all this? And I was like, yeah, where I'm from, versatility is key because you're dealing with all different cultures. You know what I'm saying? You're not really, it's not like Chicago where it's so segregated and you're just kind of used to one culture. So they dug it and they hired me. And so in that way, I kind of grew to learn the city, and I would hang out with the fellas, and I would learn the lingo, and I would learn the music and the culture. I remember I used to come there with mixtapes, all the same stuff I used to do in New York. In the barbershop, I would cut hair, but I would make a killing off mixtapes.
Wow.
Bootleg sneakers and bags, clothes, all kind of bootlegs.
That's the New York way.
I would make an extra $500-600, maybe $1,000 a week just off of moving that product.
Yeah.
And I would bring it all here. And the funny thing was, some of the product would move, but I couldn't sell no mixtapes.
Yeah.
They wasn't feeling none of the. I had Max B when he was wavy.
Oh man.
French Montana before he blew. Like all.
Yeah.
I would put it in and they would be like, "Yo, take this out, bro.
Son.
Like we don't listen to this."
Yeah,
So it was a culture shock, but it allowed me to learn, the ropes out here.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
So you're cutting hair and at the same time helping your business partner set up the store. Where'd you guys set it up? Like Michigan Avenue or?
No, so there were 2 locations. The one, like I said, was on 47th and King Drive. It was a smaller spot, but the bigger base spot that was Madison and Pulaski.
Okay.
So it was real. And we still got that to this day. It's
Okay.
called Cisco NYC.
Wow. Madison, Pulaski. That you just hopping into some of the most intense cultures in Chicago, bro.
Right.
I think that's always key information to share with people, especially some of our listeners who are implants on, how to move and shake within Chicago. That's a major gem. Now I got a question for you. So, what sort of colloquialisms or kind of cultural differences were like things that stood out for you? I know you mentioned the shoe thing, so talk a little bit about that.
Right. I remember. So the lingo definitely was like really different for me. Like I had to learn to adjust. I had to tone down my accent and the way I spoke in order for people to understand me, and I had to really pay attention to how people spoke in Chicago and the slang and all that. And one of the things that was like a culture shock for me and threw me off a bit is one day I was in the store. We just opened, maybe like a week, 2 weeks out, and some people came in the store and was like, "Hey man, do you sell gym shoes?" And I was like, in my mind, all I can envision was like some shoes that people would wear when they wrestle.
They work it out.
Like wrestling shoes, And that's all I could see in my mind. And I was like, "You mean like wrestling shoes?" And they was like, "Nah, man, like sneakers." And I was like, "Oh yeah, we sell sneakers." Yeah.
Well, Chicago is gym shoes, man. Right, So and we said that all the time. I remember I was telling you about one of my good friends, Matt from Harlem. We were at school down at FAMU, and he was like, "Hey man, we going to the mall." I was like, "Cool, I got to grab some gym shoes anyway." And then my boy Tavon was like, "You going to work out after this? What you mean gym shoes?"
Right.
And I'm like, "No, some mics." And then he like, "What are mics?"
Right.
And you know, so. And then I was like, "I'm gonna see if they got some ones." And he was like, "You mean some Uptowns?" And I was like, "No, they ones, fam." So I can understand by you moving here, kind of what sort of like cultural differences, But you later realize also that we have the best pizza too versus New York. So you can admit that on camera, right?
I don't know, man. Like I'm not gonna lie, like. I'm not really a real big pizza eater, so it wouldn't matter either way for me. But there is some good pizza out here. I like a couple.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying?
all right.
But I like spots back home too. So
okay,
But I'm not a big pizza dude, so
All right, well that's fair enough. So
when it does come to food, though, I will say, culturally, we have a better mix of food. But restaurant wise and places to dine, I think you guys got it. It's a bit fancier. It's more, and I love decor and I love like ambiance. I think Chicago has some of the best ambiance when it comes to dining.
That's dope.
But when it comes to cultural, like when I go home, as soon as I go home, I'm hitting the Dominican restaurant, the Puerto Rican, the Jamaican, it's different.
That's crazy. So you guys at that time are embarking on a fashion collaboration of sorts, man, and so. What was that like? Like, who were some of the first people to embrace you? Because, Chicago is notorious for being territorial and political, even from a hood standpoint, even amongst black elite, so to speak. At least some of them think they are. But, like, who was, like, some of the first people to, like, actually reach to you and be like, yo, you know what I'm saying, you good over here?
Right. So, like, when we first got here with the brand, we were really trying to, like, we were trying to go hard, we were trying to make a statement, and we did a lot of fashion shows, and I mean we were amongst a lot of the brands, the local brands like Fashion Geek and like Success and like, you know, a lot of these different local brands that at the time we were all trying to like, you know, come up, you know, and I think who embraced us the most was Success, Vel, Bobby Simmons and them. Yeah, like they.
Shout out to Bobby and Vel.
Right, yeah. Those my people, man. I got a lot of love for them, and they always just was real. You know, they always. In fact, like we wanted to do a video, a shoot for this magazine, man. It was a popular magazine back at the time. I can't really remember the name, but we were like, hey, can we use your store to do the shooting? And they were like, yeah, man, for sure. Like we revamped, we moved all kind of stuff out and made it look like it was like Conde Couture, and
That's dope.
They was all for it. In fact, they also picked up the line and sold the line in the store. You know, they were one of the first to embrace us. So shout out to them.
Yeah, man, that's one of those turning points in someone's, you know, transition into a community where, you know, you just meeting, bumping heads with folks, and all of a sudden an unlikely, you know, group or individuals like, nah, bro, you over here with it, and you good, and that's pretty dope. Now, you where did you learn like this fashion sense, or even you mentioned like tagging and things like that? Like, were you self-taught, or like was it some formal kind of education in your past?
Well, when I was younger, you know, a lot of young kids in New York was always about the tag life, you know, like getting up and tagging. And so I ran with a few different OGs. One his name was Deck. Shout out to Deck. Deck really put me on to like tagging and characters and stuff like that. And then my boy Mike, he was tagging Zeke. Yeah, I think he was tagging Zeke. But after that, I started working in like an airbrush shop, and I linked up with this cat called Knock.
Yeah.
And Knock just really took my whole graffiti to a whole nother level, man. He had some college education, and he had that experience, and he brought that and mixed that in with his graffiti, and he just was super nice. He's a beast to this day. He's crazy with it, and he really kind of helped me hone my style with like the airbrush, and like the commercial aspect of it, you know, like learning how to do letters on T-shirts and stuff like that, and he also taught me how to be fast and quick with it, you know, because we only had a certain amount of time. We had to knock things out.
Sure.
And so I was like real slow, trying to be meticulous, and he would show me shortcuts like, man, you just got to make it commercial, you know, and get it done. So
and that's, you know, you talked about it being quick because of what was going on culturally in New York State and New York City with the people, you know, the police really going at the graffiti artists and things like that, and it just became a whole thing. So that's kind of something that really sets you up to be able to hit that graffiti stuff going. And you're one of the few dope artists out right now that actually incorporates the tagging into your pieces. So talk a little bit about like how that you know, that experience early on of tagging kind of you know, really started to be shown and showcased in your pieces.
So for me, it was like, you know, I grew up tagging, I grew up with graffiti. That's where the love started. And then I eventually started going to a school called School of Visual Arts.
Okay.
This school gave me that more classical training. I learned about art history. I learned about all the different elements of art, you know, and I took that and incorporated that with my street knowledge, you know, my urban textures, and fused the two together, and that's what you see today. I try my best to not forget about my past, right? I try to incorporate that in, and that's where the two styles kind of got married.
Okay,
you know?
Cool, man. How do you consistently deliver on these amazing pieces, bro? Like what? Like, how do you consistently do this, dog? Like, you've been doing it for a while, and your pieces are dope. Like, how how do you do that?
Well, you know, honestly, I try to stay consistent. I try to keep working. I try to keep, you know, honing my craft. But sometimes I just get in the studio, man, and I don't even have a sense of direction. I just go. And a lot of times I just feel like I'm being led by God. You know, it's organic. I think my best pieces are the ones that are the most organic, the ones that have less thought involved early on, and then as they grow, I might start to give it more thought. But the ones that just start off, like this one right here, for example, I just did the background. The Buddha came later. The shape of the Buddha came later. That's why you see all these textures cutting through the face and all these different words. And in fact, this piece was created while I was creating other pieces.
Wow.
So normally when I do a show, there'll be one piece that I just keep going into and like keep adding things. And as I'm doing these other pieces, I'll keep coming back to that one piece.
Yeah.
So that piece is a work in progress throughout the whole entire body of work.
Wow.
And this was that piece. This was the piece that I just kept adding, like behind this tan, there's so much more going on that I covered up. You know what I'm saying? Just to create this baby Buddha right here. But,
nice.
you know, this was an organic piece. And in fact, everybody was like, man, I love that piece, you know? So.
Now, how many pieces have you done over the years? Can you even count?
Nah, I wouldn't even be able to give you a count, bro. Like,
and are your pieces probably like babies in the sense you don't have a favorite, or do you have a favorite piece?
That's my favorite right there.
This one right here behind us.
That one, that's so.
Does this have a name?
This is Gucci Buddha.
Gucci Buddha, that's
so fire. You remember when I told you about that show, my very first show in Chicago, Vision of a Fashion Guy?
Yeah.
This was what started the show. So this was the very first piece I did. The show was about different deities being fused with different fashion brands.
Wow.
So like this was Gucci
That
Buddha.
was groundbreaking.
Right. So, you know, it was different and it was very controversial, but
I'm sure you caught a bunch of heat for that.
Man, I caught heat. I caught good criticism and bad criticism. But you know, at the end of the day, I felt like it was all good for me because I was just coming out. So, like this one was Gucci Buddha. I had like Ganesh Ferragamo,
nice,
Polo Christ. Like you see where I'm going.
Yeah,
with.
absolutely.
So like I had different deities fused with different brands, and so like this has always been my favorite. In fact, I had a few people. I had a news anchorman wanted to buy this from me, and I just was like, man, I gotta get this number for it, or it ain't going nowhere. And he just kept pushing, but I wouldn't budge, bro. Like I won't sell that piece until somebody gives me an astronomical number.
Nice,
and that's just it. Because I just feel like that will always remind me of where it started. You know?
Yeah, so it's pretty much invaluable, you know. So where does the kind of like the Buddha inspiration come from, man? Like, you know, that's an interesting kind of inspiration for an artist to pick such a piece that a structure, a foundation for so many people. Where does the Buddha inspiration come from?
So as a kid, you know, my mom around that whole wicker era, you know, she had like all the wicker chairs and all the bamboo stuff and like the Buddha and the incense burning and all that type of stuff. And she would always tell me how if you rub the Buddha, you get good luck, you know, and it brings good energy and all this type of stuff. And so I actually, before even, you know, doing any research on Buddhism and any of that stuff, I automatically, the idea of Buddha being a good vibe, a positive energy, good luck was already indoctrinated in me. So, you know, it's always been a thing for me. And like another aspect of my work that's, you know, usually prevalent, which in some of these pieces you don't see it right now, but like the crane, the origami crane, origami textures. Like if you look at them Yeezys, how I got like the geometrical shapes on it and whatnot. And so that's what I call my origami pattern or my origami style. And so these are two things that when I was a kid growing up, you know, it was part of my life, part of my culture. I used to, like, origami was like my thing. Like I was always paper folding and trying to get better at that. And so when I was trying to find my style, you know, I was kind of reaching in the beginning, you know, I was kind of reaching for a style that was unique and different, but I was reaching outside of myself. And I was like, man, you know, I got to a point where it just felt forced. And I was like, this ain't really, you know, I need to find myself within my style. And so I just thought about it like, you know, what makes me, you know, and these were some of the elements, and I was like, man, I'm just gonna incorporate that into my work, you know.
So was it like a huge epiphany, like through like searching through so much stuff, or did it just kind of come to you like, yo, you know what I'm saying, like how did it come to you?
It's weird to like, I don't know how I could really put the finger on it, but because I was striving for this unique style for so long, it does seem like it was a process, but it's like what you said, it really just clicked all of a sudden. It was like, wait, what? Why am I thinking of things outside of me when it's all about internal? It's all about who I am as a person, what am I about? And those key elements just kind of came through, and it's still a working process. You know, it's still a part of honing my craft and my style and really developing that. But I think this is the path that I'm on. You know what I mean? Kind
of knowing your background and knowing who you are and the work that you put in, you really put in that those 10,000 plus hours that Malcolm Gladwell talks about in his book Outliers. What are some caveats or maybe some tidbits that you can share with younger creatives about, you know, one, putting in the work, but also like strengthening their business acumen, man? Because I deal with so many different creatives, man, and they never really seem to have their business stuff together. So like, what are some caveats about putting in the work as well as you know, just kind of business acumen?
My main thing that I would tell them is that don't look outside of yourself. Look within for everything that you need in terms of your style, in terms of the flow of things. It's all within. Don't search for it outside of yourself. That's the main thing. When it comes to business, you know, I'm not sure if the business aspect of it can really be taught. I almost feel like sometimes it's like you gotta have that. Like you gotta have that natural hustler mentality. And if you have it, you have it. And then when you're an artist, it gets incorporated into your business aspect. But like, you know, if they don't have that true hustler mentality, I feel like you gotta look at your art as a business as well, because that's what it is. You can't just look at it like, you know, I'm an artist and let me just paint or let me just do my thing creatively and let somebody else market and push it and out. Because, for example, I'm a gallerist as well. And most of the artists that I do well with or that we have a successful show with are the artists that put in the work as well. They don't just lean on the gallery and me to do all the marketing and all the promotion. They're out there. They're sending the word out. They're passing out flyers. They're sending invites. They're putting out posts.
Their due diligence.
Yeah. And those are the ones who usually have successful shows. The ones that just lean on the gallery and lean on me and like, hey, you know, we're the people or what. It's like at the end of the day, the people follow the artist because they like the artist, right? So most of the time, those are your supporters coming out. If you have some other people coming that are part of the gallery's network or, you know, my network or whatever, then that's just an add-on. But your nucleus, your key following and your collectors is your fan base. And you have to create that fan base. So I remember when I did this show, Vision of a Fashion Guy. Dude, I did this show. I was so tired that like I went in the back because I had the gallery and I had the studio and it was all connected, and I just went in the back, started drinking and just stayed in the back, and they was like, what are you doing? You got to come out. The people want to meet you. I was like, nah, let them look at the work. The work is there for them to look at, and they're like, no, they want to meet the artist they
want to talk art with you,
and I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. I was like, huh? And you know, it took me some time to even understand that part. But the aspect of business was always a part of me because I always had that hustler mentality.
Where did you learn like your business acumen? Like, it sounds like somewhat through experience, but like, was there anything like in your past as far as business is concerned that you know, you learned some key lessons from?
So for me, you know, I've always been a big dreamer. You know, since a kid, I was always just reaching for the stars, and so that was just one thing that always drove me. But I watched my father come across a lot of money, and I used to always be like, yo, Dad, do this with it. You know, open this up, do this, like restaurant, you know, like different corner store bodegas, and like a club, and like he would listen, you know, he would do it, but he just never had the, like, he wouldn't run it. He would always let somebody else run it, and so his devotion wasn't there. He would fund it, but he would never really 100% be behind it. Yeah. And so I watched it materialize, and then I watched it just crumble every time. Wow. And so for me, it was just always like, okay, how can I learn from that? You know, just having the money ain't enough. Yeah. You know, you got to be able to support it. You got to be able to be behind it. I remember when I opened my first barbershop, and I got it all, like, it was real tight. All my barbers were like, they were really good. They knew exactly what to do in there, and there was no BS going on. And I just kind of like fell back a little bit. I was like, okay, now this is a tight ship. It could run on its own. Sure. And I just started to watch all kind of things start happening. Man. And I was like, you know what? It's never gonna be ran and operated the way you want unless you are there to do it. Yeah. You know, some people get lucky.
That's some jewelry right there. You dropping gems.
You know, there's some people that they can find a somebody like them, like a manager that could run and operate the business. Yeah. But even a manager still is not gonna have the same sense of pride in that business.
Ownership in it.
The ownership, it makes a big difference.
So what mistakes have you made that you're comfortable sharing with from a business standpoint that, you know, has prepared you or put you in this position that you're in now?
I think for me, I have been in business since 2001 or 2, around that time. And for me, I haven't really built the type of business credit and credibility that I think I should have. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of that is because I didn't have a blueprint. Right. I just was all heart. Mm-hmm. I did everything based off of heart, you know, and I didn't have any mentors. I didn't have anybody who was willing to sit down with me and say, hey, you know, you should do this, you should do that. This will help your money grow. This will help build your business credit. This will help set you up for potentially a big business loan in the future to grow and expand your business. I just didn't have that. I didn't have that type of leadership around me and or mentorship. So I found out everything on my own. Everything I've ever learned, almost everything, I'm self-taught. Yeah. And so when you're self-taught, you tend to figure out that you're gonna do a lot of things wrong. Yeah. And that's what teaches you. Yeah. It's the mistakes. It's the fuck ups that make you end up being like, oh, okay. Now I know how to do this differently and be more efficient at it next time. And so that's one major thing that I look back on now, and I'm like, man, if only I would have started on that path when I started entrepreneurship. I would be a beast by now, because that's a long time in business. And it's only until recently where I've really taken it serious. Yeah, man, I think you're a beast in your own right, and definitely a case study on betting on yourself. Right. That's really important. But a lot of people don't understand the foundation that you have to set and the type of understanding and knowledge that you have to accumulate to then cash in and bet on yourself. Right. So I take my hat off to you for that. But that's important, you know, for young people, no matter if they're an artist or, you know, starting their own marketing company, to understand, like, you really have to have the foundation to do that. Right. Now, you know, so, you know, fast forward a little bit, you're in Chicago, you guys have the fashion stores going. Did you guys only do the store on 47th and the one out west, or was there, I think I remember you mentioning something about living in Inglewood or something like that? Right. So when I first moved to Chicago, did you really stay in Inglewood in the early 2000s? Like I really did, and I really didn't know where the hell I was at. Really? Yeah, how'd you end up over there? You didn't have no friends to tell you. Man, I didn't know nobody in Chicago. Shout out to Inglewood though. Right, shout out to the crib. So, funny story is like, I came out here, you know, just to see what the flow was out here, like what the city was about. And right away I was like, man, this is a dope city, you know. I went back home. My business partner, Willie, was like, hey, look, I need you to go back out there, and you got 2 weeks to find a crib.
Man.
And the crib has to be a work and live, because we were moving our production from New York to there for the clothing line, right? So we had presses, we had all kind of stuff, big machines, right? Yeah. So I
work and live, for people that don't know, some of the young artists don't know, is a space where, you know, you have maybe the front of it or the bottom of it, your retail space, and then you also have a space where you live at and you sleep. So,
right. So you rest your head in the production studio, basically.
So you in Inglewood running a business and sleeping.
So let me tell you how it happened.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for a place, and I'm like, I didn't even know where to start, to be honest with you. But somebody told me jump on Craigslist. So I jump on Craigslist, and I'm looking at all these different spots, and you know, it was some spot. Now, mind you, I don't know anything about Chicago geographically.
Wow.
I'm just picking spots that look big enough.
Yeah.
The price, because obviously he gave me a budget, and that were in range. So now I'm looking at all these different spaces. I'm meeting these people to see all these different spaces. And yeah, I've seen a couple in nicer neighborhoods, but they wanted to put you through the ringer with credit checks, and you know, they wanted to know way too much, and I didn't have time for it. And at the time, my credit wasn't A1, and I was doing it with my name. So I was like, man. So anyway, found this spot on Craigslist, 65th and Halsted.
Wow.
Right? And it was freshly
remodeled.
Heart of Inglewood. I didn't know that. So it was freshly remodeled. Huge, when I tell you. I'm talking about 2 bathrooms, big kitchen, like living room was huge. It had 4 bedrooms, and it had 1 bay area where I was like, this would be perfect for production, right? And then like the little rooms that are off to the side was good for storage, storing all our boxes and all our merchandise and all that stuff. So I was like, man, this is the perfect spot. Mind you, when I pulled up, I seen a bunch of people outside, you know, it was live.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking like New York live. I'm thinking like, okay, whatever, it ain't nothing I ain't used to. But I didn't know the difference in terms of how it is segregated and how it is
the gang
territorial
culture,
and how the gang culture is, and how, you know, how when they see me they thinking I'm Puerto Rican, and they like, what, he the ops, why he over here? I didn't know none of that. So anyways, long story short, I committed to the space, and lo and behold, I learned where I was at real quick. You know, it was a few issues. I bumped head with a few people, but I ain't no punk, so you know, it was whatever. And then even when I used to, like, we had a lot of models come over to get fitted for fashion shows and all that, and they be like, "You live where?"
Right.
They was like, "What?" And then they would pull up and be like, "Can you come down and get me?" Because it's like 13 guys in front of your doorway, you know. So yeah, it was challenging, but again, it also is what let me understand the culture of Chicago from the roots up. And that's the one reason why I always tell people, like, you can't tell me nothing about Chicago.
Man,
I done did it from, you can't tell me nothing. I done experienced all of Chicago. And from the highs to the lows, I've experienced it all.
And the roots of Chicago, definitely, man. So that fashion kind of enterprise or venture, like, how did that pan out? Did you guys just continue, to grow it, or like what happened with that?
So initially, it was doing really well. I mean, like I said, we were selling in some stores here. Ibiza was one that was on 47th, high-end clothing store. Vel at Success, and a couple other stores, and we were doing well. Now, mind you, these were a lot of one-off pieces. Like we were doing custom blazers with print and hand embellished Swarovski crystals and all kind of crazy stuff. And it was, at the time, that was the wave. We were kind of ahead of the wave, and then it started like become more of a wave. And then what happened was, you know, Chicago's a tough city. You know, it was 3 of us, and we, like me and my other business partner, we decided to come out here and we made a vow that we was gonna do this thing. And I was like, man, I had a lot to lose, because at the time I still had business in New York, and I was just like, man, we're gonna do it. If I'm gonna come out here, we gotta really commit to this. And he agreed. But it became so challenging that he folded. And he was like, look, man, Chicago don't embrace us. They don't like us. Man. I don't want to be here. There's no love. And I was like, I feel you, but I'm here. And I'm staying. So me and Willie continued, but we had this partnership disagreement, and we had this battle in court, and we went through all of that, and then we had to change the name and so on and so forth. And that time that lapsed, we kind of missed our window of opportunity for the style of the brand at the time. And when we relaunched, it was just like, we were kind of like, man, we went through so much back and forth with the manufacturers overseas, and the timing on that and how much it took. We just lost so much time, money, and energy that we just kind of felt like it was best that we just kind of let the brand go and do some other things, you know?
Sure. So you're not even really practicing any art at that time.
None.
So, and then the business pretty much fails or dissolves. Right. And so kind of what's your reaction? What's your pivot? Like, you go back to cutting hair? Like, what was your response?
Man, to give you the real and the transparency is like, dude, I was living in this big apartment now by myself in Inglewood, and dude, it was times when the electric wasn't on, the hot water wasn't on. I was taking cold showers in the dark type stuff. Like it got real critical, because it was like I had to figure out my next move and my next hustle, and whether I just go back to New York and I've always been real resilient. Very resilient. I've always been somebody who, when I set out to do something, I'm like gonna do it, you know. And with the clothing line, I was like, okay, this particular brand may not have worked, but let me start thinking about some other opportunities and ways I could get back to it, right? And so I just went back to what I knew best, which was cutting hair. You know, so I started cutting hair in Hyde Park. Hyde Park Hair Salon, where Obama was getting his hair cut at traditionally, and I kept doing that for a while. Then Dave Jeff from Fly.
Shout out to Dave Jeff.
Shout out to Dave. He ended up reaching out to me and a couple of the brothers over there, and was like, hey man, I'm about to open this store on 53rd. I would love for you guys to be the barbers in there, and then just be y'all exclusive barbers, you know. And so when he opened it, we went over there and we did it, and it was. And
that was back when the old Harper Court,
you
know, was popping, right?
Well, yeah, he had shut the Harper Court thing down and then transitioned into the one on 53rd.
Right. Okay.
Right, and he partnered up with Spoon, and so like that spot was dope, man. It was real dope. It had a dope vibe. It was like different. It was like you had this clothing store, this dope clothing store in the front, and it looked really modern, and the style was fresh. And then in the back, it was 3 barbers. It was me, Walt, and Rico. And you know, we was like the celebrity barbers back there. You know, anytime, you know, celebs came through for a walkthrough or in-store, we would dice them up. You know, they would do all kind of dope events there, and we'd be dicing people up, you know. So it was pretty dope experience. And then what happened was, in the course of me working there, I did put together a series of paintings, right? Mind you, I was kind of still doing the buying for Cisco NYC. So I wasn't working there no more, but I was doing the buying. And if, you know, buying is basically when you just, you shop the product and put in there seasonal. So anyways, I was in there one day just stopping by, and this lady was kind of mentioning how she had commissioned this artist to do a series of pieces for her and how bad they were. And then she was saying the amount of money she spent, and I was like, let me see the pieces. And she showed me, and I was like, man, I could do you something way better than that. And mind you, I hadn't painted in forever, right? But I just knew I could top that. And she's like, really? And so we exchanged info. I started this series for her. And one of my guys ended up coming coming to the crib, which I had lived right over the Fly store on 53rd at the time, so it was real convenient for me. But anyways, he came to the crib, and I had all this paint and shit everywhere in my kitchen and paintings on the wall. And he's like, dude, what's going on? And I was like, man, I'm in here doing this series for this lady. She commissioned me. He's like, man, I didn't even know you painted. Like, I didn't even know you were an artist. I never knew that. And I was like, yeah, bro, I've been an artist forever. I just really never wanted to be the starving artist. So I never was just randomly painting like that. I always, back then I had the wrong concept and the wrong mind state rather. Whereas I always felt like I'm not just gonna be painting for no reason. Right? Which is really the wrong mindset. And I would tell that to young artists.
Right, back to the 10,000 hours.
Right, don't have that mind state that you only want to paint just to make money. Right? You should be honing your craft and you should constantly be painting. And even Hebrew told me that one time. So, anyways, long story short, he tells me, he's like, look, man, I want you to meet this artist, upcoming artist. He's about to blow. And he reminds me a lot of you. Like, y'all got a lot of similarities. I think y'all should know each other. And he could probably help you out in your art career. So he took me over to Zoe.
Right.
And lo and behold, it was Hebrew. And
shout out to Brew.
Right, shout out to Hebrew. Mind you, I had already seen his work.
Yeah.
Because a friend of mine from New York went to school with a female at FIT, and she ended up opening three P's Art Lounge out here. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
Yeah.
Right. She has a wine brand right now. Anyway, so she told me to come there one day, and I went, and Hebrew's work was up, and a couple other artists' work was up, and that was the first time I seen his work, and I was a big fan then. But anyways, he brought me to Zoe, and this was like his first quote unquote Flyboy exhibition, like where he was really introducing Flyboy, and man, we vibed. It was a cool vibe, and he told me a little bit about his past, and like how he used to customize shoes in Atlanta, and like his whole like vibe was like similar. Like I used to do the same things, and like the whole thing was similar. And he was an Aries, I was an Aries, and we just clicked. And he was like, man, look, I like you. He was like, look, if you want, you can come to my studio. I know the biggest hang up for you is that you don't have anywhere to paint.
Right.
So I'll help you out. I'll give you a spot in the studio. You could paint, spread your wings, and grow from there. You know what I'm saying? And so that's kind of where he helped me. He gave me a platform to like really believe in myself.
Dope.
And to really take the art career a little bit further. Now, mind you, I got in the studio and I didn't know what the F I was doing.
Right.
I was just in there like all over the place, and I would be reaching for him like, yo, help me out here. Like, what? And he's just like, man, just keep painting. Just keep on.
Yeah.
Just keep drawing, keep painting. You'll find it. And, little story with that, I did this Buddha piece, small Buddha piece, and left it there and went back to New York. At the time, I was going back and forth a lot because I still had business in New York.
Yep.
And I had left it there on the easel, and he told me, man, he was like, you should have gave me a price for this, because I swear, like, they had an open house, and everybody that was coming through was asking about it. And he was like, man, you might want to think about that being your vibe, you know what I'm saying? And that's kind of where it kind of started too, like. So
that seemed like that was a pivotal moment for you as an artist, like finding your voice, finding your brand, somebody extending a hand to you and really opening up a door. Right. That's some cool shit. You said that the Gucci Buddha was probably the kind of the first piece and your favorite piece. What was your first piece that you sold and you were like, yo, like I'm an artist, like I can get paid for this.
Right. First piece that I sold that I felt like that. Wow, that's a tough one. I think it was a commission piece that I did, and I got a really nice amount of money for it, and I was like, man, if I could do commission pieces like this, I'm good. Sure. And that individual, they commissioned me to do one piece, and then they liked it so much that they commissioned me to do like two other pieces. And and that was one situation. Another situation was where I started to sell to like more prominent collectors,
sure.
you know, A-list people.
Yeah, talk about that.
Like
Who are some of your like high profile clientele? Because I know you done some pieces in here for Brandon Marshall. Talk about a few other.
Right, so Brandon Marshall is definitely a big collector of mine. In fact, this is one of his pieces that I got to ship off to him.
Okay.
You know, Kelvin Hayden.
K-Ball.
Right.
Yeah.
I've done pieces for Diddy. You know, I've done pieces for Taraji. I've done pieces for, man, it's a long list of people, man, that I've done Kenny Burns a piece. Who else, man? It's you know, those are just to name a few. It's a lot of them, though, man. But like, you know, I think when I started to like really, I've done a piece for Mello. You know what I'm saying? I think when I started to do these pieces for these celebrities and these athletes and stuff, I started to feel more like, okay, you know, maybe I got something here. You know, but to tell you when I really felt that I could be an artist, I tell this story often, is I was in middle school and I had an art assignment, and it was a teacher. His name was Al Coco. I really liked this teacher too, man. We had a really good relationship, but after this it kind of soured. But he told us to do this project, and he didn't really give us no real restrictions. He was just like, it was kind of open and we could do whatever. And I think it was like an end of the year project. Right. So it was like, okay, show me all of what you've learned throughout this whole, you know, this year, and put it all in one. So I was like, I'm gonna go hard. So I found this image. It was an image of like a goldfish and like a few goldfish inside of a fish bowl, and the bottom of the bowl was like checkerboard. So it had all these cool like elements, like textures and elements where like the checkerboard was like on the bowl, abstracted ways and stretched out and distorted in different ways, and then you could see the reflection on the fish, and it was really, the detail was like crazy, and so it was a challenge for me. Now at the time, I was just drawing with colored pencils where I would just kind of like feather it, like it was like shading a bit, but I had worked into this one area on this piece so long and so much that it ended up like building up almost like paint. And at the time, this was by mistake. I didn't even know this was a technique. It's called burnishing. Yeah. But at the time, I had no idea. I was too young, didn't know nothing about it, and I thought I messed it up. I was like, damn, I messed up the piece, because now I got this like this shaded look, and then this one area where it looks totally different, and I'm like, I messed up this whole piece, and I did a lot of it already, and so I was like hurt by this. But I was like, you know what? Maybe I should just do the whole piece like that. Yeah. So I started going into the rest of the piece with that burnishing technique, and it looked amazing. It looked so realistic, and it looked like paint, right? So when I was done with the project, I was so geeked. I was like, yo, I couldn't believe I did it. Yeah. And my mom watched me do it and was super proud of me. She's like, I can't believe you did that. And she's like, that shows your growth. Turned it into the teacher. Teacher told me I ain't do it. Teacher said, there's no way you did this. And I was like, what? Then when it came to grading it, he gave me a bad grade, and he didn't return it. And I was like, well, I understand you don't believe I did it. Yeah. My mom told you I did it. I told you I did it. You graded me poorly, but can I at least have my piece back? He was like, he lost it. Bro, the piece was so good that he took my piece. Wow. So that was the day. That was like, I knew at that
heartbreaking, but reassuring at the same time. All right, so fast forward from that. Now you're a gallerist. You have a gallery on in Pilsen, kind of on the south side a little bit. Was that ever in like your wildest dreams or in the cards for you to open up a gallery, man?
Nah.
Like, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, not at all, man. I never foreseen myself being a gallerist at all. Like, I just wanted to be an artist and a designer, fashion designer. and maybe own some property and stuff like that, and just get money, right?
Yeah.
But I never thought about being a gallerist. Like, I always thought about being on the other end of that. And the way that kind of happened was when I left Hebrew Studio, he left to go to Lacuna, and he's like, hey man, you can either stay here, I could plug you in with Zobi, or I could plug you in with the people at Lacuna. It's your choice. I ended up going with the Lacuna thing because it was a way better situation. And in this situation, I ended up developing a gallery with a art studio and a hair studio. So I was able to do everything all in one. And that was important for me because I was like, man, how do I kind of like make a hub for everything, you know, all things creative that I do. And that was the hub. And so within this hub, I felt like this could be a platform for me to express my work and to showcase my artwork, because honestly, man, it's very hard for emerging artists to get into galleries. You know, they want some history. They want you to have a following. They want all these things out the door most of the time. And so I was getting turned away by a lot of galleries. So I was like, you know what? As always, I'm gonna create my own lane. And so I created that to give myself a platform. I started showing my work, and other artists would step to me like, hey man, can I show my work here? And that's when it all began. So I started showing other artists, and I felt good about that. I felt great about giving other artists a platform to showcase their work and express themselves, and to give them to give them more confidence and to give them more drive, because a lot of these artists, they were dope. They just were working 9 to 5s and they didn't see no time to do it, and or they just were like, man, what's the point, right? So that's how it kind of started for me.
Okay. Now, one of the keys in the art of war is in the midst of chaos, there's opportunity.
Right.
How has kind of coronavirus affected you and your business, and how do you plan on kind of pivoting and making that a a stepping stone instead of a stumbling block, bro?
Right. So this whole COVID thing's been real tricky, especially with my business, and it being a business where you kind of have to have people congregate, and you kind of have to have people engage in the work and feel a vibe, catch a vibe. It's a spontaneous purchase. Art is a spontaneous purchase. So a lot of times you got to create this atmosphere for people to buy. But outside of that, man, I've learned to tighten up my online presence. I really been working on tightening all those aspects up and figure out other ways of hustling and getting the art out there. Sure. But also, I think that I've also had the opportunity to reflect on what might be the next business move, right? Because there's no guarantee with what currently exists, So I'm thinking that, and I've always wanted to, but I definitely wanted to start transitioning into getting property, real estate, stuff like that. And I don't want people to be like, oh no, he's leaving the art. I'm never gonna leave.
No, you're just expanding your earning potential.
Right. And so like, I'm always gonna be an artist. I'm always gonna be a gallerist as long as I can be, right? Yeah. As long as I can keep the doors open.
Sure.
But the thing is, even in real estate, I'm gonna add an art element to it. Yeah. And I ain't gonna put it out there because I don't want nobody biting my steez. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I got some really cool concepts that I want to add to the whole element of real estate.
Yeah, and you can definitely say it in private because manifestation is important. So, I think that you had mentioned just it kind of expanded your reach. But I feel like you've been doing that, over the last couple of years. You own Chicago PD as a barber. Right. So you're just really expanding and constantly expanding. So that's super dope. But, so what's next for P. Scott, man? Like, can we anticipate a book or something like that, man? What's next?
Right. No, you was reading my mind. I do want to do a couple books, actually. One, I want to do a biography, Yeah. And that's been in the making. I've been really like jotting down a lot of stuff. I know a writer that's gonna help me, and so we've been working on stuff. But that's gonna be a work in progress. But I also been wanting to do a children's book.
Okay.
You know, and young Buddha is gonna be the character.
Nice.
Nice. I'm supposed to be partnering with somebody with that. And we gonna put something special together with the book, with the children's book.
Sure.
But you know, also, you know, I'll probably be doing another art exhibit. Probably I won't do anything till next year, just because I don't know the climate and how things are gonna be right now with COVID.
Yeah.
So be anticipating the show probably around like June, July of next year.
Yeah.
And it'll be crazy. You know, I always try to push the envelope and do something different each time. And other than that, man, like I said, my next business venture, I'm trying to push for real estate.
Yeah.
You know, and get into that market. But like I said, I want to do it in a way that it hasn't been done before.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah.
For sure, man. Well, we look forward to that, man. And you're gonna have to come back on the podcast and let us know how those ventures are going once they're up and running, man. I really appreciate your time.
For sure.
Thanks for coming through to the Global Entry Podcast, brother.
Yes.
Appreciate you.
Love.
Peace, Scott, y'all.
Thanks.